Hey guys, this is the Cow Corner, your favorite cricket podcast, and I'm your host Prashant, and I'm flying solo today. Yeah, so there are a few things actually I want to talk about. The big event, the big thing that happened this week is passing away of Gary Sobers, Sir Garfield Sobers, born on July 28, 1936, and he passed away on July 17th, 2026, so 90-year-old. I shouldn't say arguably the best all-rounder. He was, or he is, the best all-rounder ever. And I know in one of our episodes, we had talked about, the Jacques Kallis of the world, and you're like, oh, maybe Jacques Kallis is the best all-rounder ever. I want to stand corrected. That's when we didn't mention Gary Sobers because he is in his own league. Growing up, because he played for West Indies from 1954 to 1974. So by the time I started understanding a little bit about cricket, Sobers wasn't, say, an active player, but you've always heard about him. You always talked about Gary Sobers as the best all-rounder ever. And why is that? I mean, if you look at an all-rounder, a true all-rounder should be able to hold their spot in the team purely as a batter or as a bowler, right? Not the kind of all-rounders, say, the Indian cricket team has these days that can do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Not even one really well. But in case of Sobers, he was really an amazing batter as well as a bowler. And even bowling wise, he was a medium fast bowler, a spinner, a finger spinner, a wrist spinner. So depending on the situation, he could actually bowl differently, either a spinner or a medium fast. So let's look at his stats a little bit, right? He played 93 tests. He scored 8,032 runs at the average of 57.8, 26 centuries. With those 93 tests, he also took 235 wickets, also took 100 plus catches. So if you just simply, it's hard to convert, What if Sobers played 166 test matches as Jacques Kallis did? Again, maybe not fair to proportionately convert these numbers, but, just stay with me. If you actually did that, Jacques Kallis took 292 test wickets. If Sobers had played 166 test matches and let's say took the wickets with the same rate as what he took for 93 tests, he would have ended up with 419 wickets. If he played 200 test matches as Sachin did, he would have scored more than 52 centuries. So, however you look at it, he was simply the best all-rounder ever. And he scored his first 100 in test match was at the age of 21. So he started playing for West Indies at the age of 17. And at the age of 21 in 1958, he scored 365 not out. His first 100 in test was a record-breaking 365 not out. That record stuck around from 1958 to 1994 for 36 years when Brian Lara scored 375. So, definitely growing up, we used to say the record for the single innings, maximum runs in single innings by a batter, 365 not out by Gary Sobers. That record stuck around for 36 years. And, after that, Matthew Hayden scored 380, and then Lara famously in 2004 scored 400 not out. So yeah, after 1994, that record got broken multiple times, but his record stuck around for 36 years. Lefty batsman as well. One other interesting thing about Sobers, the record was he in 1968, I should say, hit 6 sixes in 1 over in a county match. So, growing up, there were few things that we used to always talk about. Hey, Gary Sobers holds the record for the most runs in one innings, 365 not out, 6 sixes in 1 over, and simply the best all-rounder ever. So, in many, do we say, is Bradman the best batter ever? Maybe actually is. But then you would be like, how about comparing Bradman to Sachin or to Lara or other people? You don't compare Gary Sobers with anyone, right? He was simply the best all-rounder ever. Now, I'm going to go back to a few other, when I was watching the third ODI between India and England, I noticed a few things. I just wanted to actually share with Siddharth and Jatan as well. One, slightly different topic, but Shubman Gill seemed like cramping up. Right, he hit actually a sweep shot, and suddenly, he was cramping up. And, you see that happening quite a bit with Shubman Gill. Like, either cramps or injuries or stiffness. So, I don't know, something is up with that, maybe. It's something you need to make sure that's taken care of. Because I remember a year ago or so when in one of the test matches, he tried to sweep the ball and then kind of sprained his neck and was out for a little bit. So definitely, not seeing a big point to worry about, but something to track. Obviously, at some point, Rohit was kind of cramping up after scoring 100. So, but that you have seen before. And what's interesting is that particular day wasn't exactly super warm or humid for batters to start cramping up. So more than Rohit, I was actually a little bit concerning to see Shubman Gill cramping up. The other completely random thing is in the second ODI, which England won against India, Joe Root was left stuck on 99 not out. And Atkinson, who was batting on the other side, couldn't care less. There was not even any thought about, maybe let's make sure that we give the strike back to Joe Root and so that he can score 100. Very, very unselfish. The simple goal was finish the match as quickly as efficiently as possible. Not worry about giving Joe Root an opportunity to score 100. And why do I care about these things? In 2023 World Cup, and yeah, I'm going back to 2023 World Cup, that India won India won all the matches except the final. One of my pet peeves during that World Cup was, in a couple of those matches, we as an Indian cricket team kind of manipulated the end of the match to make sure Virat Kohli was able to get his 100. And when I was watching it, and I'm like, don't just have a focus as an Indian cricket fan, obviously, just have a focus of why are you here? You are here to win the World Cup. You're not here to give opportunity for players to make hundreds and personal records at all. So it was very interesting to see the English team, Atkinson and Joe Root himself, not worry about he's on 99, so let's give him an opportunity to score 100. Yeah, I mean, those are the things I wanted to actually cover. That's what I got. This is the Cow Corner, and this is your host, Prashant, flying solo today. Cheers. Hey, it's that time of the week again. This is Kalpana, your cricket podcast, and this is your host Prashant, and I'm here with Siddharth today, and we're going to get into some really spicy topics, maybe. Because in our last episode or last conversation, we touched a little bit about India England women's and men's series, and also a little bit about, actually quite a bit about Gary Sober's. India is moving on. Indian white ball team is moving on now to Zimbabwe, and it seemed to be winning, Siddharth, right? They seem to be winning there, and
Wow,
the,
surprise.
and there is a talk about, and so we want to today we want to get into this talk about. You always hear there is a talk about, and you hear this, and someone said this, and someone said that. So where is that someone, and where is that talk coming from?
Yeah.
So Siddharth and I, we thought let's get into a little bit of where is this stock? Where does it come from? Where does
Mhm.
where does news actually come from? You
I
know?
yeah, and I think one other aspect of more than just news, right? And we say that cricket is a mental game, right? It's
Mm,
not just about what happens between those 22 yards, right? Between the sticks. It's
mm,
about what's happening between your eyes as well that matters, right?
mm.
Um and as individuals, as human beings, right? I guess one of the biggest influences on our mental state, especially for the younger generation, but even for older folks or more millennial aged folks, is
Yeah.
social media, right?
Mm, mm-hmm.
And I just want to go a little bit into some of the things that we've been seeing in social media and how that might have actually affected some of the news that we've seen and some of the actions that certain cricketers have taken over the last few
Yeah.
months. And social media, it's good, right? So you see IPL teams posting funny TikToks, funny reels, funny
Mm-hmm.
YouTube shorts, promoting their teams,
Yeah.
promoting certain players, and it also does a great job, bringing out players from relatively obscure backgrounds into the forefront of our consciousness.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
However, I also truly believe that social media negativity has affected the careers of two major players in the international circuit.
So
And
interestingly, Siddharth, you mentioned at the beginning of this is that you worry about social media impacting, influencing, affecting younger players, right? Because I remember when Vaibhav Suryavanshi was coming on, and I say coming on, it's like as if he has been here for a while, but he is just such a young, 16-year-old kid, 15, 16-year-old. One of the things I think Dravid or someone had mentioned, and I forget who it was. Again, somebody mentioned, but about how how these young players, how they can handle stuff that will show up in social media. When they're succeeding, yes, great stuff. But what if they don't succeed? Because
mm-hmm,
it's bound to happen. And then
yeah.
how do you actually build the strength to handle that? But what you're saying is it's not just about young players.
Yeah, yeah. But actually, just to talk about Vaibhav Suryavanshi first, I think you brought up a great point.
Mm,
And in that England series, right, he did get his chance in the third T20,
mm,
and however, he got dropped, right? I believe for the fifth one.
mm.
Um, and you could see on social media all these pictures of young Vaibhav sitting on the side, I guess looking upset. We don't know if he was actually upset, but the framing of this was here's
Mm.
a picture of Vaibhav skulking for whoever, no one knows why. He's just
Mm.
skulking, and it
Yeah,
must be because the BCCI completely ruined his confidence because he got dropped.
yeah.
And I just think that's ridiculous because
Mm, mm.
Vaibhav Suryavanshi, great player. India also has a lot of other great players, so it's okay if he comes in and gets dropped because he's still part of the
Guess.
squad. That shouldn't really affect his confidence. But you know what will affect his confidence? Everyone telling him that it should affect his confidence.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so it's a double-edged sword, and it gives you fame, it gives you instant fame, it gives you rapid fame, exponential fame. At the same time, if you don't have the right mentorship or right support or right support system, it can definitely negatively impact players. But your point at the beginning of this is not just young, because sometimes you feel, oh, once you have played for 10, 20 years, you should get used to this stuff. But no, come
Mm-hmm.
on. Every stage of your career, you are vulnerable for different reasons. When you're just coming up, right, you're vulnerable because you think, do you even belong here? Like, do you have this imposter syndrome, maybe initially? But imposter syndrome isn't just for young, inexperienced players. Imposter syndrome can last throughout the career because ups and downs are going to happen. It could be Sachin Tendulkar of the world, but I'm sure they have gone through stages in their career when they feel like, am I done? Like, am I going to come back from this? And social media, as it can help you build confidence by seeing all the good stuff about you, can also negatively impact you,
Yeah.
right? And you want to talk about, I guess, a couple of those big stalwarts
Yeah.
of the game.
So, I mean, I think I also want to address a couple different, vectors that social media um, can, be directed through um, and have an effect on players. So, one, and players and fans alike, right? And, fans influence opinion, fans have opinions, fans can influence decisions, right? Pressure can influence decisions. So, few things that I just want to point out that social media is absolutely guilty for. Um, Number one, I think, is honestly social engineering, right?
Mm,
So we
hmm
think about social engineering maybe more in the frame of like a political kind of issue, right? Where there are these people who are trying to influence people's opinions for their own outcome, for their own good, right?
hmm
But that absolutely happens in sports and social media surrounding sports too. Um, Another thing that has become even more prevalent is AI, use of AI in social media to draw a strong reaction from viewers because AI can
mm,
make things look different. It can make things look realistic but untrue. And that
mm,
leads me to my final point, which is fake news, blatant fake news.
mm,
Um, Whether it's about statistics, whether it's about what someone said, whether it's where someone was, all those things, right? So
mm.
I think those are the three main things that I would like to talk about with
Yeah.
respect to, Ben Stokes' retirement. Uh,
Mm.
Certain speculation coming from God knows where about Rohit Sharma and whether he should be in 2027 ODI squad, and some other kind of smaller stories,
Mm.
such as this Vaibhav Suryavanshi skulking thing, which I think frankly is ridiculous.
And so let me put it this way, right? So what he was upset? Big freaking deal. So what? I mean, he's a kid, he's a human being. So what? I mean, first of all, why make such a big deal? But of course, if you're famous, I guess that those things are going to affect you, especially, I guess our point is, especially if it's not true, then that creates all sorts of doubt. And then if you start defending it, that it's not true, then you're going to come across as being defensive. And then people are
Defensive,
going to
something you
wonder
got
even
something
more.
to hide, you're insecure, you're whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the first thing I want to focus on first is Ben Stokes' retirement, right? So
Uh-huh.
as we all know, right, Ben Stokes announced his retirement middle of a test match, and it came on the back of being suspended for a match due to breaking curfew, right? Which undeniable, he did do that. He broke curfew, which is bad. Um, However, if you ask any English pundit about whether or not they thought Ben Stokes should retire, almost none of them believed that he should
Yeah,
retire.
I agree.
However, I don't think that positivity actually reached Stokes because you go to
Mm.
Instagram, you go to YouTube, you go to all these other TikTok, all you see in the comments of posts is Ben Stokes is washed, he isn't batting well, he should retire, we need it, Harry Brooks should become the captain, all the cesspool of just negativity directed towards Ben Stokes, which, you know, he made mistakes, but
Hmm.
when you take England as a nation, you take all the 11 best players in that nation, Ben Stokes is arguably one of the best, if not the best player that England has ever produced. So his forced retirement due to sentiment that no one important really held was kind of sad to see and shocking. And it's not that he lost the love of playing cricket because you see him go to Durham and score centuries now. So he
Yeah.
loves playing cricket. The reason he stopped is all because of the mental side that transpired because people were, honestly, were just throwing negativity at him
Mm.
through
I
social
mean,
media.
I'm with you actually because in last year, right, we saw Ben Stokes bowl in Lords. I mean, granted, at times he takes on a lot
Hmm.
as a single player. Fair enough, right? So this is not about criticism. This isn't about, should he do some things differently? Should other players step up or not? Blah, blah. This is not about that. This is about should he have retired? And he was single-mindedly focusing on test matches, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and he loves playing tests. He was, yeah, fine, batting wise, maybe he wasn't batting at his best, but he was
But he could
bowling
have
at his
made the
best.
team. He was England's second best bowler.
Exactly. He would have made the team like we were talking about Gary Sobers earlier. True all-rounders
Hmm.
make the team either as a batter or bowler. So he would make the team, no question, as a bowler and as a leader, right? Always very proactive, always wants to win. And fine, we had talked about baseball and should they, tactically do things differently. Completely different conversation than
Yeah.
should he retire? I mean, come on,
Yeah.
his career is done, and fine, he will do well for himself. The cricket is at a loss. I mean, cricket
Yeah. Cricket
basically
has
lost.
Yeah, cricket lost when Ben Stokes retired, and especially the way that he was honestly forced to retire due to all this negative sentiment that came from social media because none of the establishment wanted that. Nobody wanted him to retire.
Yeah.
There's a
Yeah.
massive gaping hole in English cricket now that honestly nobody can fill because that's how
Yeah.
good he was.
Because what's interesting, Siddharth, is right, and then many times you feel those big players when they're not performing at their best. You
Mhm.
think about, oh, maybe blah 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 should retire. You're not going to have another Ben Stokes for a while. These are generational talent, as they say.
Yeah,
It's not like
absolutely.
there were five other Ben Stokes waiting, and he was holding somebody else's spot. So
Oh no,
um,
no, no.
it's hard to find. So the point is, at the end, if you hear a lot of these negativities that are not true critic sentiments or critic thoughts with any logic, but eventually it's going to get to you, and you're like, you know, you're a human being after all. You're like, you know what? Fine, let me just walk away, right?
Yeah,
Which is sad.
absolutely. Yeah, it's very sad. And we were, according to social media, we were at risk for losing, our favorite vada pav, Rohit Sharma, right?
Yeah.
I mean, after a couple bad innings, you're talking about taking out a guy who's fastest ever opener in ODIs to reach 9,000 runs, right? 186 innings and 9,000 runs. Most ODI World Cup centuries, 7, like, I think ever,
And
right?
most double hundreds, most double
Most double,
hundreds.
3 double hundreds. I mean, you're talking about, and if we're even talking about recent form, this guy has the third highest runs in ODIs since 2023 out of everybody.
Yeah,
And the
that's
only two people in front of him are Kohli and Gill. And Gill is averaging 60.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think Rohit's average is like 48 or something at strike rate of 100 plus
this
after the
guy's
2023 World Cup. Yeah,
unbelievable. As an opener, he averages over 50 with a
yeah,
strike rate of 90, like 96. If I give you Sachin Tendulkar, he had an average of 48 and a strike rate of 88. Granted, in much more friendly conditions for bowlers back in that day, but Rohit Sharma has 30 centuries and 186 innings. Sachin has 45 and 340. Right,
yeah.
so just to give you the scale of how
49.
great.
I think Sachin has 49. Actually,
Sorry,
49
as an
ODS.
opener,
That's
as an
okay.
opener, I'm
Oh,
saying
as
as
an
an
opener.
opener,
Oh,
as
yeah,
an
good point.
opener, he has
Good point.
45.
Good point.
So he Rohit is probably the greatest opener in ODI cricket that India has ever produced. And to remove him from the team, to even suggest removing him from the team completely. Okay, let's say you think Jaiswal is better. Fine. You want to start him, Gautam Gambhir, stick to that. But you're going to take Rohit Sharma out of the squad for who?
Yeah.
Who is going to score at an average of 55 as an opener with a strike rate of 96 and give you 5 centuries in one tournament? Who is
Yeah.
capable of doing that in India if not for our Varapal?
But what I realized actually is there was one time, maybe a year or two ago, I was thinking about his fitness. So I at this Lord's third ODI in Lord's, right? Rohit scored 100 in 84 balls. I thought he looked fit. Actually, yeah, he was cramping after he scored 100. Fair enough, right? But he was cramping a little bit after he scored 100. I mean, in that sense, Gill was actually cramping way before that. And, that's something I'd mentioned before. And I'm like, I don't know what's happening with Gill from cramping. But coming back to Rohit, I think his fitness level actually has become better. He looks more slimmed down and he wants to play, right? He looks still involved in the field and he is really in limited overs. He has been a really good captain for India. So I agree with you.
I mean, yeah,
The
you
way
think
he's
about
batting, yeah,
if someone like Shubman Gill, like God forbid he gets hurt, and you don't have Rohit Sharma in the team,
yeah,
we're not. Who are we beating realistically?
yeah,
Like that is massive. We take his greatness for granted. We take
yeah,
once we get used to seeing someone perform. I think you just mentioned this, right? You see someone perform at a certain high level, they drop off a little bit. Maybe they regress to the mean a little bit. And we're all in clamor saying, "Oh, you should retire, you should retire." But
mm,
what is the replacement, right? We always talk about process driven
mm,
team selection, right?
mm,
Not
mm,
knee jerk based team selection.
mm. Not
Removing Rohit
not
Sharma would be,
emotional.
yeah, not emotional. Removing Rohit Sharma at this stage from the squad would be an absolute travesty. I mean, it would just be ridiculous. And again, all this speculation, all this social engineering, all these the fact that this is even a talking point is coming because of social media, and I just think that's ridiculous.
So what do you do though, right? Because the cat is out of the bag, right? These things are going to happen. I guess this is just again me thinking out loud. How do you have in your team you have physical trainers, right? And you need someone who's actually, and maybe they are hiring these folks these days
I'm sure they
as
are.
for
Yeah,
mental health to make
mental.
sure
Yeah, sports
that
psychology. Yeah,
sports psychologists and say, hey, let's make sure that we are able to kind of look at social media, sure, because there are legit opinions also mentioned through social media, sure, tweets and others. But how do you actually take that and distill it in a way so that you take what is actually useful and see if you can take that what's useful and then apply that and not make it into some kind of a circus.
I mean, I think you're giving human beings too much credit to be able to. absorb that. No, I think to absorb that sports psychology and apply it when
Mm,
all this noise is happening. I don't think there is a human who, again, we're talking about these apex alpha male athletes who
mm,
are always trying to prove that they are the best.
mm-hmm,
And you're telling me if someone's telling them that they're not good enough, they're not going to have a reaction to that? Of course they're going to have a reaction to that.
mm,
So
mm.
instead of focusing on making these athletes something that they are not, I think actually the responsibility has to go to fans to create a culture, to create an environment where these athletes like are not under pressure for stupid reasons, basically, for not scoring runs in a game. That should not put you under pressure from the fans. And that's something only fans can control. Fans can control the narrative they put on social media, with all due respect. So I think fans really need to just sometimes shut up and just watch the cricket and appreciate greatness while we're watching it instead of
Mm.
just looking for things to criticize all the time. And I think a lot of this also does have to do with these, automated artificial intelligence, like sort of fake news or social engineering gimmicks where they want these reactions that I'm feeding into it too, right? They're making me react this way because they're showing me that, oh, Rohit Sharma might retire. So now I'm on this Cow Corner podcast and ranting about it. And now maybe I'm fulfilling someone else's goal because I've been socially engineered to do this. But
Yeah.
that same level of manipulation can apply to players as well. And it's on us as fans not to be a part of that, not to be the cause of that manipulation, to deplatform the people who are saying that Rohit Sharma should retire. Those people should not be given the light of day, in my opinion.
So I was thinking about this when you mentioned athletes, right? Top athletes, not just cricketers, obviously. Couple of examples popped in my head. Tennis superstar, right? Naomi Osaka
Mm-hmm.
had went through the mental health challenges in social media, and so is U.S. gymnast, right? Simone Biles.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the bigger the athlete you are, the more iconic athlete you are, the more high performing athlete you are at whatever age, whether you are Vaibhav Suryavanshi or whether you're Rohit or Ben Stokes, the exposure and your vulnerability is equal and more than just an average athlete. We know that's the sad part. So, a point well taken. Um, Again, we are here talking about it because we feel at the minimum we got to discuss this topic and say, hey, when you hear something in social media, be at least don't forward, don't repeat, don't
Yeah.
echo, don't echo that,
Yes.
right? Don't at
Yes.
least echo
Yes.
that and don't buy into it. That's the minimum we can do.
Absolutely. That's
That's
the
the minimum
minimum.
we can
And
do.
honestly, the what we should be doing as fans, because our job is easy. We just sit on the couch, watch the game, let them do the hard work, right?
Yeah.
It should be our responsibility to make sure if we hear narratives like this, to shut it down, right? We can't just be bystanders. If you see someone saying something ridiculous on social media, it is your responsibility to shut them down as a fan. I firmly believe that too.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if you're on social media, think twice before you post something. Honestly, think twice before you post something because you might just be ignorant.
Yeah. And then the forwarding, sometimes eventually you actually lose track where it started, whether
Mm-hmm.
that was legit or not. If you say something like 10 times, 20 times, 100 times, people feel it must be true.
Yeah.
So many people said this, so
Especially
it
with
must be
I
true.
think the one big area where this is really, and this is, I think this is almost a issue within, kind of within cricket itself, because the actual statistics are
Hmm.
of large numbers, right? You
Yeah.
have this guy has 15,000 runs, or this guy averages 86.23, or there's so many statistics, so many large numbers to keep track of. It's
Hmm.
really easy for the casual viewer to look at a post that says Rohit Sharma has averaged 14 runs. Sorry, won 4 runs, 14 runs in the last 3 matches or the last 3 years, and believe it, and then them share it with their friends, and then that becomes a whole thing.
Yeah.
Versus, another sport where it's like, oh wait, no, I saw Messi score a goal then,
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's really really valid. And again, going back to where we started, it is not just for young players because again, when Vaibhav Suryavanshi came on board, and we are talking about him because he's like the upcoming star, and we really hope he is going to succeed and he's going to fail. Like that has no elite athlete has escaped lean patch at all, and that can happen at any time in your career.
Mm-hmm.
At the minimum, as a fan, you got to be aware if you hear something, check for its source, check for where it's coming from, and doesn't mean even if it's coming from another player, it's fine. At least confirm that. Have
Mm-hmm.
your own thought process. At the
Yes, think
minimum,
for
don't just echo.
yourself.
Think for
Yes,
yourself. And don't just
yes.
echo don't be an echo chamber, and don't just echo these thoughts. So
Yeah,
no,
mindless.
it's really. I mean, I'm glad, Siddharth, you wanted to bring it up. And I know, I think for Ben Stokes, maybe it's too late. I don't think he would be like Tom Brady, that he'll come back. I think, but the one thing to keep in mind is many times, and I've been guilty of that, saying, so and so must retire, so and so must do this. I'm like, you don't get Ben Stokes every year. Like it's a once in a generational talent, literally. Same with Rohit. I mean, a player like that doesn't come along that easily, and he's performing for ODI.
Yeah,
He's
he is
performing.
performing. So, I mean, I think the difference between this and saying, say, Kohli, maybe you should retire from Test, or maybe you should not be in the Test squad, is that Kohli legitimately was not a good Test player for the last 3 years. He
Yeah,
was not a good Test player for the last 3 years. So
yeah,
there was actually an argument there. Rohit Sharma, I will reiterate this, has the third highest ODI runs out of any player since 2023. And the only two people in front of him are a guy that's averaging 60 and a guy who's probably the greatest ODI cricketer to ever play on the face of this earth.
yeah.
So let that sink in.
Fair enough. And I think maybe as you say, let that sink in. Um, I think that's our episode, right? We don't want to. I mean, we have many other things we want to talk about, but the this particular episode is about us as fans, us as podcasters, us as whatever spectators, when you hear something in social media, um, before you form an opinion, before you start sharing, before you start believing,
Mm-hmm.
double, triple check, do
Yeah.
some fact checking. And we do that for politicians more so now. We do the same thing for sports because these are human beings. They are super athletes, superhumans, you could say, in certain part, but they are equally vulnerable or even more
And they're
vulnerable
they're
than any one of us.
superhumans, right? They're
Superhumans.
superhumans. So
So true. It's so true.
yeah, and
Awesome.
again, I think I would just want to reiterate one last point, right? Like if you see posts on social media that hint at social engineering, right? Trying to manipulate people into feeling or reacting
Mm,
a certain way. If you see social media posts that are clearly generated by AI that are spreading fake news and provocative content, just remember you also have a voice to shut it down. So
yeah,
sh- use that voice to shut it down if you have it.
true fan. Exactly.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Um, yeah, and it's good to be back. So that having a chat with you. Jatan couldn't
Yes.
join
Good to be
today. He's
back.
Yeah, Jatan is actually nursing a bit of a cold and a cough, so he couldn't join. So Jatan, quickly get well. We'll get you back on the pod. And again, we have actually a guest that's lined up. We're going to work with him throughout the week, and our next episode, we're going to have an interesting guest with us. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you. Thank you for listening, fellow grazers.
Awesome. So, yeah, this is the wrap, and it's Prashant, your host, and with Siddharth. And this
Thank
is
you.
Cow Corner. Cheers.
Goodbye.
Bye.
This episode was produced by Mukta Phatak, music by Joe Reynolds.